Come on in. Come on in.
Sure.
Welcome to Live from LA County podcast. Kristin, how are you?
Good. Great
Nice
to
to see you. Absolutely.
Yay.
First and foremost, I just want to thank you, right? Thank you for sharing today, and thank you for making yourself available for not only our DHR team, but really for the folks who are going to watch this. And we hope that we have the ability to impact folks who are already here in the county, individuals who are thinking about the county, people who are thinking about moving to LA, thinking about your path in terms of the arts, right? So let's jump into it. Tell me a little bit about your LA story. Everyone in LA has a story, right? We're full of stories in LA. What's your LA story?
Oh my. I don't know which part of my LO story I should be telling you, but
Let's make it the good part.
let's make that. It's always going to be the good part.
Nice.
Well, I'll share perhaps a little bit about, how I got here and some of my connections to Los Angeles. So actually, I'm going to start a little bigger than that, which is my connections to California.
Okay.
So I actually grew up, I was born and raised in Chicago.
Great.
And throughout that, when I was applying for colleges, these days, from what I hear, a lot of young people, if they're really, striving and aspiring, they apply to so many schools. And it's, really, it's a lot. I was very straightforward. They said apply to something they called a safety school when you're pretty confident you're going to get in.
Yes.
Apply to, one more that might be okay, and then a slight reach, and then a real stretch, aspirational, kind of a school. And so I literally applied to 4 schools.
Okay.
And they were like, each one was in that category. Well, one of them would take me all the way out to California, and it ended up being my stretch school, and I ended up getting in. And so when I first came to California was when I first left home to go to college. And it was just so wonderful and felt like such a wonderful place that I could completely engage in the culture and the vibe and the friends and all of that. And so I knew even years later, when I made my way after college, I was intending to go to law school right after college. And I even took the LSATs. Now, mind you, we didn't have any lawyers in my family. So I probably had vague ideas of what it was to be a lawyer. But I knew I was reading and writing and American history and literature. And I was about the issues. And so this all made, perfect sense. But I had also done arts, and in my case, the performing arts, since I was 4. And so this was something that was very close to my heart, but I had always kept it alongside my academics. And so when I was graduating, I started working with a choreographer, and I thought, I've got to do this while my body is young and while I can. So I said, I'm taking a break, and then I'll return back to law school. So that ended up taking me to New York City, which led to over 20 years of living in New York City. But all that time, my oldest sister lived in Los Angeles for about 15 years. I had dear friends when I was in college who were from LA. So I was here for Thanksgiving weekend and hanging out with so-and-so, all the things. And then, of course, Los Angeles has always been a phenomenal place for art, culture, and entertainment. And so fast forward many years, I'm in New York City. And at that point, I've now met my husband, and we had a young child. And much as I love New York, we finally said, now, hold on. Are we going to be here just indefinitely? Because neither one of us has family in New York. And we actually put into the universe that there would be a sign. Something would either say, absolutely, you're going to stay right here in New York City, or something would say, maybe you're going to go back to Chicago, a
And what was the
fabulous
sign?
place for arts and culture. And the last one said, oh, you're going to go to LA, a fabulous place for arts and culture. And the sign was actually the role that I was hired for. And the headhunters called, and they called me directly. And I thought, oh, my goodness, is this it? And through the process, I was hired by the County of Los Angeles.
Excellent.
And joined in this role. And I will tell you one other thing that is an LA story, though, is part of this whole idea, well, why were we even talking about New York, Chicago, LA, is because my husband is a native Angelino. And he had been here working in the music industry. And so for him, it was a coming home. But it meant that there were multiple reasons why we wanted to be part of Los Angeles County or return back to Los Angeles County. Part of it was it's an incredible place for arts, culture, and entertainment, which is what I do, which is what we do. Part of it was family connection. Part of it was just a connection with broader, greater Southern California and California. And of course, the cake topper was working for the county of Los Angeles.
Nice, nice. So look, you great story, and I had no idea of your deep roots and connection to LA, right? So tell me a little bit about how you transitioned from like being on a Broadway stage and doing that work into public service and working in public service and ultimately making it to LA County, where a lot of people want to be. LA's like the place. Talk to me about your story, your journey.
Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting one because it happens probably in a lot of fields, but I'll definitely say in the arts, a lot of times you will have multiple facets of your career. Sometimes this is definitely over time, right? Someone is an actor and then later they transition and become, an educator or what have you. Sometimes actually a lot, especially these days, a lot of folks have what I would call a portfolio career, meaning that especially because a lot of arts work is not always W-2. And so they maybe are doing a variety of things. They are an artist, but they also did some scenic or set design for theater. And then they also run a podcast and they, do different things, right? So for me, building on, the story I was just sharing, I was a performing artist in primarily dance, but also musical theater and singing, and later did some songwriting as well. And so that took me to New York City, where I danced with a renowned company called Urban Bushwomen, which is a phenomenal dance company that blends contemporary and African diaspora.
Yes.
In doing that, it was phenomenal. And I got to tour all over the world, et cetera. And then I realized, well, hold on, I'm in New York City and I also love musical theater. Did that. So I started auditioning and I did get the national tour of Rent and then later kept going on that journey and made it to kind of like the pinnacle of what I, wanted to do in that world, which would be Broadway, and was on Broadway and the original Broadway cast of Mamma Mia and did a bunch of other stuff. So as I mentioned before, what happened to the law degree? And so I will tell you this, I'm sure you've experienced this for a lot of communities. And I think especially communities that are either may identify as low income communities or immigrant communities, people of color. If your child has the chance to possibly be a lawyer or a doctor, they are like not having it. And so this is actually a challenge we find in the arts. A lot of people don't know that there are many jobs in the arts.
Yeah.
They just think, well, you're either going to be a star and that's not likely, or you got to get out of there. But there actually are a lot of jobs. And so even I was not aware how many jobs there are. So it was a big deal for me to apply to law school, get in, and then I had to be like, oh, wait, am I really going to leave what is now a career in performing arts? Ultimately, I decided to go to law school. But by the time I went, it meant I was really committed that I was going to stay in arts and entertainment. So I focused on everything related to the arts: copyright law, intellectual property, film law, tax-exempt organizations or, nonprofit, et cetera. And so when I came out, it took a while because entertainment law jobs are very, very hard to come by because everybody wants them, especially at that point, I was in New York City. And so it took a couple of years of getting, strong legal experience at a major firm. And then I finally was like, I'm reconnecting. And when I reconnected to the arts, because I knew that's where I needed to be, that's what all of my life had been about, I stepped into arts administration, arts management, and I did a couple of fellowships. And this is why this is important for people's journeys.
Yes.
I did a fellowship that was intended for folks of color at a place called New York Theater Workshop, where things like the Broadway show Rent actually originated there, then transferred to Broadway. It's an incredible off-Broadway theater, and they have long had programs for writers, directors, and arts administrators who are underrepresented. So doing things like that gave me a stepping stone. And then, I had eventually started saying, now, am I going to have to go back to lawyering? Because what am I going to do? And a friend called and said, I just had lunch with the general counsel at New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, and they're opening up a new position who will be the deputy general counsel for the first time. And I already told them all about you, so you have to apply. And I thought, government and the arts, this is going to be terrible. That was what
that was the initial reaction.
Now that was considered because both of my parents, how they actually met is they worked for the Veterans Administration. So they worked for the VA for many, many years, but all I could imagine was sort of like what you stereotypically think of sort of government or bureaucracy or like dark offices. And I thought with the arts, how is this going? Lo and behold, even I, someone deeply in the arts, did not know at that time that there is an entire support system and an entire infrastructure of cultural policy and arts administration that is often not really seen to many artists or audience or community members, that actually provides the funding, cultural policy, legislation, arts administration. And so I did end up getting hired at that New York City Department of Cultural Affairs and worked there for almost a decade before. And that's where I got that fateful call to come to LA. And that's where I got to grow into not only being an attorney in the arts, practicing attorney in the arts, but also arts administration, funding programs for the arts and strategies and all the things that I've now been able to employ in new ways here at the LA County Department of Arts and Culture.
How much money, when you talk about funding the arts, how much money does your department distribute to arts organizations across LA County?
Well, I would say we are, I think, probably hands down what I would call maybe the broadest funder of the arts in Los Angeles County. Yeah. And that is really for an intentional reason. We want to ensure that there's access to the arts. We want to ensure we're funding diverse art forms and cultural forms. And we want to be making this available for all the communities of LA. So we are funding hundreds of organizations. I mean, I'm talking maybe about 500 or so nonprofit arts organizations that we are funding every year, everything you could imagine, museums, art centers, dance companies, folklorico, I mean, all the things. And we have multiple programs. So some of our programs, like one of our flagship programs, the Organizational Grant Program, is at about $5 million a year that we are issuing out in grants for that program. And then we have additional programs, one called Community Impact Arts Grant, where we realized that sometimes we needed to meet people where they are, and sometimes that was non-traditional avenues. And so that funds social service and social justice organizations that use the arts in their mission. And then that's even separate from arts education and commissioning artists for civic art.
I noticed in your bio, there was information about internships. Arts internships, and I am certain a lot of folks are interested, if not them, their kids, right? Folks in college. Tell us a little bit about that program and what is it? When I saw that in your bio, I was instantly interested in understanding who qualifies, how does it work? How is it the nation's largest arts internship program anywhere in the country? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So it's the LA County Arts Internship Program. And what I'm so, so proud of is that on behalf of the county, we are investing over $1.5 million every year to be able to fund and create over 200 paid arts internship positions for college students in LA County. And we do that by actually selecting and identifying. Right now, we have about over 150 different nonprofit arts organizations who serve as the host sites, and they get selected, they apply, then we give them the funding to ensure that these are paid internships, and they're in a variety of jobs. So it could be marketing, it could be production, it could be arts education, it could be fundraising and development, which is an important part of the nonprofit sector. And so these jobs are happening all across LA County. And actually, we want students to have this experience. What we know is that this can often be one of the main entry points to a career in the arts or the creative economy, but it also is just enriching for anybody. These are transferable skills. So if ultimately they decided to do something else in their career, it's still they got to learn, they got to have on the job paid experience, and that making sure they are paid internships
Yes.
to disrupt kind of an older history in the entertainment field of who internships, or folks who can kind of afford to do the unpaid internships to get their foot in the door was really a great equalizer. Yeah.
Great. Now, you brought up something here that I frequently think about because I see how our board of supervisors and your department's is embedded into so much of the fabric of our LA County work and how we're trying to impact lives across the nation and be leaders for in this space. And I'm interested in understanding that importance of the arts and how it impacts lives, and it is kind of that fabric, no matter what you do, it actually impacts all. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes. And I love that question. It's so true. I mean, one of the things that, I think to sum it up, we know that the arts are important for human, community, and economic development. And so it's really across kind of everything that we do. And when we really refreshed kind of the mission and vision statement
Yes.
of the department, I love to point back to our vision statement because I think it also sets the foundation where we talk about our role as envisioning LA County as being a place in which arts, culture, and creativity, we're always going to carry that flag, is integral. It's vital to our civic lives for all of our people and communities. And so we have been leaning in to the intersectionality there, that arts in education is important, that arts for youth and youth development, arts and health, arts and mental health as well, arts and the economy, and arts and the built environment as well, infrastructure. And what's really interesting about this field at this time is that so much of this is things that, like, when you really reflect on it, we know as people. Definitely, I know people in the arts know this. We've seen it. We've experienced it. Arts builds empathy. Arts, helps us bridge cultures or step into someone else's shoes. Think of a movie or a film or a book you read and how it maybe really moved you, took you into, even if it was so different from your life. That's getting into a narrative.
Yeah.
That's helping you shift perspective. And so all of this matters. But what's really exciting about this field right now also is that a lot more and more of this is being documented and affirmed through data, through research, through studies. And so with that, we have even greater reason,
Yes.
From like a policy point of view, to say this is absolutely worthy of government investment. This is absolutely a public good that we want all of our communities to have access to. And we want to give folks the tool, the resources, and the recognition, because we also all have creativity within us, right? You don't have to always be a professional artist. Arts and culture is something we all also do and engage in our lives and in our homes and our communities.
What would be your advice, right? You're now embedded into LA County. What would be your advice for someone who maybe is in another county department, or someone who is lives in LA County or somewhere else across the world and is thinking, I'd love to do what she does. I'd love to work in the arts. What would be your advice to them?
Yeah. Well, number one, let me go back to something I said earlier, which is there are a lot of jobs in the arts.
Yes.
So sometimes I'm asked to speak with college students or graduate students. And one of the things I like to do is ask, what's your major? Especially because there's this one class I've been invited to where it's not an arts class per se. It's actually all these different policy students coming together. And so I love hearing them, I'm doing, health policy. I'm doing, whatever, infrastructure. I'm doing poli-sci or whatever they're doing. And I love to say, well, we need all of you. because there really are so many jobs in the arts. And in fact, especially if you are a young person out there, we created a website just for young folks and those underrepresented in the arts, especially, to be able to see the pathway and see examples. And so it's called Creative Careers Online. You can find it directly if you Google that or search that. You could also go to our website, lacountyarts.org, and you can find stuff on creative career pathways. But the website profiles things like video game design or being an art teacher or, a musician. But there's so many jobs, even way deeper than what I did. There's someone whose literal whole job is to be the coordinator when they're bringing together orchestral musicians to create then and play and perform the music that becomes the score for major motion pictures in Hollywood. And I know this because we fund an organization called Musicians at Play that has a program that brings together student musicians with professionals, and it culminates in them going to the partner studio, Warner Brothers, and getting to have the experience of recording the music from, say, Black Panther or the music of John Williams. It's phenomenal. And someone's job is not only to be the musician, someone's job is to compose. Someone's job is to coordinate and that whole orchestra. Someone's job is to conduct it. So there's so many jobs. So whatever you are genuinely interested in, whatever you are genuinely talented in, I think, my advice is go for it. My advice is it's rarely a straight line. So as you're zigging and zagging, trust your instincts. You are headed somewhere, even if you can't quite see where yet. I do recommend look at examples of what other folks do and know that there's an administrative side. There's a side of being a funder. There's a side of people need project management. People need all kinds of folks. People need accountants and lawyers too. So there's a lot of interesting work, and go for it and try to continue to find those opportunities for you, because you'll be able to then knit that together into the skills, the perspectives, and the talents that are uniquely you.
Thanks for the advice. That's amazing. I want to maybe get into a little bit about LA specifically, right? And what would be your advice to someone visiting LA? Let's start there, right? You're visiting LA and you're like, you have to see, you have to participate in, you have to go to. Like, are there some things that are iconically LA that you would share with the audience? Because even those of us from LA, born, raised in LA, oftentimes we don't indulge in all of the great culture that is here. And so where would you send them?
Oh my goodness. I'm laughing because I've never been very good when people are like, what's your favorite X fill in the blank? I'm always like, nope, can't do it. There's so many. But I will at least say this. You are so right that Los Angeles is a place that is so rich with culture. And it includes, of course, what we might think of as Hollywood, right? The film and the entertainment, but so much more. And so there are both iconic places here. There are also iconic cultural institutions here. And we've been a part of major arts and cultural forms and movements. So what do I mean? What I mean is there are incredible cultural institutions or places to go, like some of them are actually owned by or a part of the county. The Hollywood Bowl, where we just were at a fabulous concert last night, owned by LA County, and just an iconic outdoor amphitheater and the home of the Los Angeles Philharmonic, but also some other great shows. And I feel like that outdoor type of venue is very remarkable to someone who grew up in a place like Chicago, because LA has multiple venues like this. There's the Hollywood Bowl, a sort of a smaller version that includes dance and music is the Ford, which is also owned by the county, but even places like the Greek and others. So this is just a phenomenal kind of LA type of way to see music outdoors and music festivals. I would also mention, of course, there's major museums, places like LACMA, LA County Museum of Art, our LA County Natural History Museums. But we also have additional things like The Broad, which is phenomenal for contemporary art. And we've got museums of all sizes. There's a Museum of Latin American Art down in Long Beach. There's MoCA, which has a lot of contemporary art. There is the Museum of Art and History up in Lancaster. I mean, so many. Performing arts. We have both long-standing organizations. We have incredible theater in LA and so much happening. I mean, East West Players, the longest running theater of color focusing on the Asian American experience, is here in LA in Little Tokyo. And Little Tokyo, in and of itself, is a place, there's so many creative hubs. And so Little Tokyo has just an incredible hub of Japanese American National Museum and, East West Players. So many things to do. I know you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have asked this.
No, I love this.
There's
I love
so
this.
much.
We as county employees, with such a large organization, 100,000 plus employees, we have to become, we have to ensure that we support, right? And we know that our employees, and if folks want to become employees, this is what we do, right? We support culture. We support our community. We're one of the biggest givers to organizations across this country or across the LA County. And so hearing some of this, I got to tell you, I haven't been to see the East West Players in many, many years since, easy the early 2000s. So you got me thinking. So I'm sure you have folks out there thinking that, oh, wow, I haven't been to the bowl in a couple of years. I may want to go back. Because I heard Yo-Yo Ma was there last night.
He was. And East West Players just concluded a fantastic show called Cambodian Rock Band. There's so much stuff happening. And I think the other thing to encourage folks is, there are places that you might say, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to make sure to make a plan. I'm going to drive. I'm going to go there. And then there are also places that may be more local to your community, or maybe right if you have a family and they have after school programs.
Yeah.
So there are a lot. We actually have something that we did that said, find your art here. And it's like a little map, and you can actually just find
on your website
some of our grantees. Yeah, we put it out. So we might be able to add that in. And I do have to say one thing, though.
Please.
We really have to talk about our partnership at the Department of Arts and Culture with the Department of Human Resources, because we believe so much in arts and culture as part of holistic well-being. And DHR, you all already had an initiative to look at how you support employee wellness in different facets. And so it was a perfect candidate for our Artist in Residence program, because we're all about innovation here. And so we actually place artists with different county departments, and we placed one with Human Resources so that we collectively could ultimately realize an incredible project called the annual Wellness Arts and Culture Festival for county employees. So last year was the inaugural one held at LACMA. And I mean, just the idea that we are utilizing arts and culture for its ability to gather people, for experiential learning about our culture and community, and as a part of holistic well-being, means that we are really on the front edge of innovation, because again, there's a lot of data underneath that, data about how art supports all of those, but it shows what a leader DHR is and that the county is, that we were able to do that and invite county employees to attend and even have their own artwork shown. That call for art, when it turned out to be the heart of the entire project. Seeing county, nurses, engineers, administrators, seeing each other's artworks displayed on the digital boards. I mean, that was just like priceless. I think it's fabulous. And I think we should continue to share out all the opportunities for them to go, because a lot of museums, a lot of folks don't know, there's often a free day, or sometimes they will have free hours for folks who have a county of LA employees.
Natural History Museum in June. Call DHR, call the arts department if you want to find out more. I am all about feeling. I'm a feeler. I will admit it. And I'm feeling your energy, and you are a huge cheerleader for the arts. Who has been your biggest cheerleader?
Oh, goodness.
Yes, I just took that turn.
I was like, what? Who's going to do that?
Yeah, who's motivating you? What's motivating?
Oh, well, there are a lot of things that motivate me. And sometimes it's, folks who don't know that they do that. But I will say young people motivate me a lot. In my experience and the journey, that I shared a bit today, a big part of it was that access to the arts that I had growing up, that
Yes.
I had as a young person. And I know that without that, I could have never made it where I was. I could have never made it to this career. I could have never learned and been able to express my own voice. And so ensuring that all young people have access to the arts is something that really motivates me in my work and in what we do. So that's one big motivator, and they are people who don't even know they're motivating. But I will also say, it's really wonderful to acknowledge the leadership of the Board of Supervisors for their investment in arts and for the creation of the official Department of Arts and Culture. All of those things help build the foundation. We're celebrating this year, later this year, we're going to be celebrating 20 years of our civic art program, where we've got incredible site-specific original art in county facilities and buildings. Well, you had to have the Board of Supervisors adopt our civic art policy 20 years ago. So that is a critical part of making this happen. And finally, I do just want to acknowledge there have just been many fabulous people and many fabulous women who either hired me, earlier in my career and helped to give me opportunities and continue to serve in a way as like advisors, and colleagues and mentors even now. So I think those networks and those relationships are important to hold on to.
Okay. Let's play a little game, right? So yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. So this is gonna be kind of a lightning round. First thing that comes to mind. And I did hear something earlier. So some of these questions you might go, I can't answer, but let's try. Favorite food?
Oh boy, yeah, I can't answer. I like to eat, I won't say anything,
Okay.
but I do like a lot of stuff. I mean, from pizza to sushi to fries. I will tell you, even those sweets, like particularly homemade or, sweets, are delicious. I do tend more for savory.
What's in your music rotation right now?
Ooh, honey. Um, See, this is so hard. I can't even remember. Well, I mean, I have to just say last night because the concert was they included John Williams music. And if you know about those kind of movie scores, I've kind of got some of that like orchestral Harry Potter and Star Wars in my brain. But there's so many incredible artists. I mean, I can't even tell you. There's so many incredible artists. I love music of all kinds, R&B, jazz. And there was an individual named Gerald Clayton from Altadena, who's an incredible jazz pianist who played last night. And while he's not in my rotation yet, I'm going after him because
You're in
he's
it.
phenomenal.
Okay. Clayton.
Yes.
All right. So we have to look Clayton up. All right. What's one of your fears?
Ooh, being ordinary.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. What's something you're thankful for?
Oh, my family.
Nice. What's a book you're reading or you want to read?
Yeah, that's a tough one too because
There's a lot.
because
Book.
there are a lot of books. Yeah, and time to finish them is really challenging. So I've got a book right now. I can't remember the title right now. I've got a book right now that is it's an initiative about arts and health that some of my colleagues did in a different part of the country. And since that's some of the work we're doing, it's something I want to look more closely at because it showed the ways that they were able to commission art in their hospital system to really further arts and health. And that's something that I'd like to build on here.
Something on your bucket list.
Ooh, well, I'm actually really excited about the 2028 Cultural Olympiad that's part of the Olympic and Paralympic Games and the role of arts and culture coming soon
Nice.
to Los Angeles.
Nice. I was gonna go here, so that was our lightning round, folks. But I had the pleasure of going to Paris and seeing the Olympics, and it was amazing, right? Where the world comes together and is in its best behavior, right? Everyone is it is all love, and you are champion, you are rooting for everyone. Just be good, be your best, right? You are also in Paris. Talk to us about some of the pre-work leading up to the Olympics that are coming up in a few years that your department's engaged in to ready us for the next Olympics,
Yeah.
Summer Olympics.
And it was an incredible experience. I have been super fortunate that we are part of a global organization of cultural leaders from the public sector. And so through that, they had an opportunity for a leadership exchange. And we were awarded one of the leadership exchanges. And it was myself and my counterpart at City of LA's Cultural Affairs, together with our counterparts in Paris, to learn from one another and share best practices as we both were going to have the 2024 and then 2028 Olympic and Paralympic Games. And so that has been an incredible experience to get to both share what we thought of as cultural equity and inclusion, to host a whole delegation from Paris here in LA. We took them to La Plaza de Cultura y Artes, another actually LA County gem. We took them all around, Music Center, et cetera. And then to go there. And then I went back during the games in the connection point between the Olympic and Paralympic and the opening of the Paralympic Games. So there's a lot to do, but there's also a lot that has been done. We also really wanted to ensure that the arts and culture sector of Los Angeles had a voice, had a seat at the table. And so our department, with the support of a board motion as well, just completed a series of 10 roundtables to hear directly from our arts and cultural leaders about what they think the opportunities are, what they think the needs and challenges are as we devise plans and we continue to engage with the LA 28 organizing committee. But the Cultural Olympiad, I mean, one of the first things that I wanted to do was just help people understand arts and culture is part of the games. And it's long been part of the games. But I think for many folks who maybe their experience of Olympic or Paralympic Games is primarily what you see on TV, it's not really showcased that much outside of like the opening ceremony. But it actually has long been a part of the whole ethos, was much more holistic. It was really about sport, education, sort of culture, the whole sort of human, experience. And so the Cultural Olympiad is a required component and typically culminates in a big, like multi-week long festival that often is right before the games begin and then will continue to run through the time of the games with lots of events and activities. So our job, in many ways, is to try to ensure that there's broader inclusion of the entire Los Angeles County region and to do everything we can to seed our cultural organizations, to give them resources and support so that there are a lot of great community activity and arts expression.
We're expecting some other major events to be in town, and I'm not sure if they're right. We're expecting World Cup, another Super Bowl. And so, when we talk about LA being the center of culture and sport and entertainment, we really are. Are you involved with any of the other activities that'll be happening as well?
A little bit. And this is something we talked about in these convenings, which is that the games are, the biggest among them of what we're hosting, the Olympic and Paralympic Games, and the first time that we're hosting the Paralympic Games. And so it's also a huge opportunity to really expand how we think about disability access and inclusion. But they're not the only major sporting events, right? We are also, we're a major hub for arts, culture, and entertainment, and we're a major hub for like national and international sports. So this is something we're looking at. How do we kind of think about these intersections in a more intentional way, long term? I also did play a role in the World Cup because it's taking place in multiple cities, and each city was invited to select their own FIFA World Cup poster. That would be the official poster. And I was invited to be on the jury. So it was me and maybe about 4 or so other, arts leaders from around Los Angeles. And we were on the jury that from an open call of hundreds of artists here in LA selected the 4 finalists that went to FIFA for their final decision. And that poster was just released about a week or so ago.
Nice. Okay. Got to look out for that. I haven't seen it. We have a few kind of closing questions that we want to get into. What's your vision? And we're going to talk specifically about your department, right? I know many of our departments have been working on strategic plans and thinking deeply about the future of our departments and how we leave it stronger than we found it. What are some of the things in your strategic plan that you're working on you and your team is working on. We know you can't do it alone. And I know some of your team, you have a great team over at Arts and Culture Department. So what are you working on?
Yes, well, absolutely. And none of us do it alone. And we are really fortunate to have super talented and dedicated staff all across the county, but definitely in the Department of Arts and Culture, which I can speak to, and just really interesting and diverse, talents from everybody there. So I would just say we actually developed a strategic plan that is part of the countywide cultural policy. And we did it with stakeholder input. Hundreds of folks, arts community members, gave input, our appointed arts commissioners, and it resulted in a plan that has multiple strategies. And that is serving as our primary roadmap going forward of how we can strengthen arts and culture and infrastructure in LA County, how we can expand access to the arts, and in doing so, also strengthen and expand the role of the department as well. And so we have been delivering on some of these, but we have in our sights new steps we are taking. For example, we are looking to expand the work we're doing in creative career pathways. And we are in the process of developing another opportunity that will be corollary to the college one, but actually for high school students,
Nice.
For example. We in there do have proposed strategies around really supporting cultural hubs in communities. So it's much more of a place-based approach than we typically take, where we would be able to support and identify cultural hubs and cultural districts to really think about that kind of ground up network of communities and the arts organizations within them. We want to continue to increase the dollars behind our grant program as the sector grows and as people learn more about what we do in the county. More applicants keep coming and coming and coming to our programs. And so we want to strengthen that as well. And of course, strengthen in staffing. So we have been able to hire more staff over the last few years under my tenure as well, because we know that people make the programs go. I mean, you need those people to be able to bring their talents, their dedication, and be part of the infrastructure to support and grow. So we're looking to kind of expand the tools in the toolkit a little bit.
Yes.
My fantasy hope, and we do have some big things that we are working on along this line, but would be to be able to support more physical spaces. So creative space is a huge need, especially in a place like Los Angeles where there are affordability challenges. Artists may not be able to pay, expensive fees for artist studios and things like that. And so being able to either provide grant funds or have actual county-owned spaces, more of them, that can function as creative workspace is something that is a long-term goal.
Okay. All right. Well, look, Kristin, I want to thank you for your sharing a little bit about yourself, about the future vision, and about what we can expect a little bit of to come in the future, as well as we have internships that are available, and how you're embedded into a lot of the fabric of LA County and what we're doing. So thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you. Absolutely. Rodney Collins from the Department of Human Resources and Kristin Sakoda, Department of Arts and Culture. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for your partnership.
Always, always.